Our next item of news is something that actually happened last year and was too late to be included in Newsreel 97, and it was felt to be such an important event that we had to start off with it this year. 10 years ago, a project was started to raise money for a new hospice in Burnley. It is a tribute to the people and businesses in the borough of Burnley and Pendle that the project was a complete success. 1.5 million was raised to establish the daycare centre and build and furnish the hospice. And on the 2nd of October last year, Pendleside was officially opened by the Duchess of Norfolk, accompanied by Lord and Lady Shuttleworth. The party was welcomed by Chairman of the Hospice Care, Muriel Jobling, who in turn introduced General Manager Drew Kimber. Some time was spent chatting informally to some of the patients before Lord Shuttleworth introduced the Duchess of Norfolk.
Duchess of Norfolk, ladies and gentlemen, my task is quite simple today. It's just to tell you a little bit about hospice care for Burnley and Pendle, and then to invite the Duchess of Norfolk to declare Pendleside open. And now to our chief guest. The name of the Duchess of Norfolk is synonymous with the hospice movement. As chairman of Help Hospices, she's been an individual inspiration and a tireless worker for the hospice movement everywhere for many years, and she's made friends and given hope wherever she has gone. So we feel extremely lucky that she's given us such encouragement by coming to visit Pendleside today. There is no one, ladies and gentlemen, more appropriate to perform the opening for us than the Duchess of Norfolk.
Anyway, thank you. And thank you also for getting my name right. The other day I was introduced as the Duchess of York. Lovely to see the results. What happens when one does envoy. Sometimes get there, sometimes get yes. And so now I have great pleasure in declaring our new hospice open, and I hope that I pull that cord, I don't mind someone wants to leave a lazy behind me.
The day was a great success and was rounded off with a delightful finger buffet and cocktails, enjoyed to the accompaniment of a lady soloist.
As we are all aware from the recent revelations in this weekend's press, new evidence has been suppressed, indicating that the effects of cannabis are less harmful than those of tobacco or alcohol.
We are in the public eye.
On the 27th of February this year, the Walshaw Girls High School took over the council chambers at the town hall. They had entered the Motorola Youth Parliament competition. The girls put on a splendid show. Unfortunately, as the standard was extremely high, public schools being most of the opposition, their efforts went unrewarded. Helen Breddock took the role of Madam Speaker, while Stephanie Kay, Helen McCabe, Lubna Khan and Jamila Khan took the government and opposition roles. Barbara Williams, the girls' project tutor, said that the experience will have been invaluable to them. At long last, the Trafalgar Flats have gone. This year saw the demolition of the remaining block, and the start of new family homes being built similar to those replacing the first section of flats. Last year, the folk of Burnley were treated to a new multi-cinema complex, which our reporter David Parker covered in Newsreel 97. This year, in March, just next to the cinemas, a new eating place for all the family was opened by Gladiator, Saracen. The Hollywood star is the result of a £2 million investment that has created 35 new jobs in the area. Victoria Ellis and Joanna Illingworth from Holy Trinity School in Burnley won a competition to name the new pub. The star attraction for the children is the Wacky warehouse, with all the latest play equipment. The girls were the first to try out the very latest equipment in the warehouse, at the same time as posing for local press. And on March the 7th, the ITV's Gladiator Saracen officially opened the Wacky warehouse. Tamara Griffin is the lucky young lady in the arms of her hero. The Natural History Centre at Towneley Hall is now the home of the Eric Hallsall Library. I think most of us know that most relaxing programme, One Man and His Dog. Eric Hallsall, who died in 1996, was the show's first presenter and will always be regarded as the man behind the programme's incredible success. In March this year, the library was officially opened by the programme's first producer, Philip Gilbert. Eric's lifelong friend, Mr. Sam Griffin, who was the brainchild behind the library, along with the Hall's assistant curator, Mike Graham, were also at the side of the guest of honour, Mrs. Rita Halsall, Eric's wife. Almost 100 people, young and old, packed into this living monument to local nature.
Good afternoon. My name's Mike Graham. I actually work here at Towneley Hall. This is not typical Burnley weather, by the way. Normally the sun's shining at this time.
We're having a nice wooden sign, hopefully in the not too distant future. This is the library. I can't say too much about Eric, I hardly knew him. I'm going to hand over to Philip Gilbert, the inventor and first producer of One Man and His Dog, who's going to say something about Eric. Thank you, Philip.
Thanks, Rob. Ladies and gentlemen, I feel very proud and privileged to be here today. I also feel that I'm here slightly on false pretenses because I see many of Eric's old friends around me, and I know just how much Sam Giffen has done, and it's his inspiration to offer these books, and I really feel that, in a sense, Sam should be here rather than me. But I'm delighted to be here, and I think Sam's idea, taken forward by Mike Graham, is going to bring something very, very unique and long-lasting for people of all ages around here. He's been associated with this area nearly all his life, as many of you know. I don't think he's ever really moved home farther than from one end of Redleys Road to the other. He was very much part of the community, wrote for the Burnley Express, had a huge... That he claimed that affection from all those people who worked with him. And I'm sure that if actually Eric was able to look in this afternoon, he'd look at this gathering, and on the one hand he'd say, "Good over, lad, what's all the fuss?" On the other hand, I think he'd be very pleased to see his work carried forward to all age groups and new generations, and that his enthusiasm through these books will be a living memory to him. And I know that that Rita is very pleased and grateful to Sam and to Mike that this has been achieved and that this will be a living memory to Eric. So I have great pleasure now in formally opening the Eric Halsall Library. Thank you very much. I think it's over to Mike again, who I think is going to offer you two.
We have 2 copies available now for everybody.
This is the Eric Halsall Library, and here is his life work.
The Eric Halsall Library in the Natural History Centre at Towneley. Well, at least Marks and Spencers have faith in our town. An investment of almost £3 million by the company demonstrated its commitment to the people of Burnley. On the 16th of March, the new 10,000 square metres of sales floor space was opened by 5 mums and daughters who work at the Burnley store. A crowd was gathering as the town crier announced the opening.
Oh, yay! Come and visit the new Marks and Spencers, which opens at 10 o'clock this morning by 5 mums and 5 daughters.
The Mayor and Mayoress of Burnley, Councillor Edith Tate and Cynthia Sanderson arrived on time. Inside the store, the official party, staff, along with store manager David Bohm, were entertained by a fine umpire band whilst awaiting the opening. The ribbon was then cut and the doors opened. It was a bit like the January sales. Sandra Wilkinson, Joanne Ashton, Christine Canning, Michelle Staveley, Sylvia Jackson, Alison Payton, Louise and Kelly Metcalf and Janet and Jane Herbert were the proud ladies who did the honours and later posed for photos along with the dignitaries. Earlier we spoke to store manager Mr. David Bohm and asked him how long had the refurbishment been planned.
Well, we've been planning this for the last 3 or 4 years. We've wanted for that period of time to get this development in Burnley because we felt there's been a great demand for Marks and Spencer to extend the store. But in that period, all the stores around Bury, Bolton, Blackburn were extended, and yet because of the loyalty of our customers and the money we've been taking, we were in a position last year to ensure that this development happened.
So what lines will there be?
We then asked Mr. Bohm whether there were extra items on sale upstairs, or was it just a case of spreading things out?
It's a combination of both. If I start downstairs, we've got a much bigger food section, which we're now selling loose produce, which we never had before, which the customers like. We'll have a much wider range of foods. We'll also have a wider range of ladies' wear downstairs. That's ladies' outerwear. Upstairs, we will now have children's wear, men's wear, and a laundry section. And across all departments, we'll have a wider range of merchandise. We'll also have a much bigger kitchen range, which we'll be selling downstairs. But also, most important, the shopping environment of the store will be now much better for the customer. And in addition, we will have actually baby changing facilities and a customer toilet, both to be found upstairs, and a customer lift, as well as an escalator for those people who need it to get upstairs.
Then we asked him how much it had all cost.
The cost of the development is £2.9 million, and we'll get a return within the first year.
The poor summer we have had this year has not helped the annual fun events in the town. St George's Day was no exception. However, the April showers failed to dampen the spirits of those attending the event at Towneley Park. The day again went down as another success. One of the area's longest-serving vicars retired this year. Canon Peter Hallam has been at St James's Church, Briarcliff since 1967. Before leaving, Canon Hallam made sure that the church was in good voice. The area around the bell had decayed over the years, along with the spire.
My name is Peter Hallam and I'm the vicar of St James's Briarcliff, whose church and spire figure in this video. If you live in the Briarcliff area, you will have noticed the scaffolding and ladders and the steeplejacks at work on our spire over these last few months.
Hello, my name's Philip Maynard. I'm a steeplejack joiner, working here at St James's Church with my gaffer Ian Chisholm. We're replacing the bell workings in the tower. There is the all wheel and the bell carrier, of which you can see are in a poor state due to decay of dry rot.
A team of experts were called in to refurbish the faults, along with the bell supports, which were also worn. By the end of March, the work was done, and on April the 26th, a packed church attended his final Eucharist service.
And solemnly stand and then we shall distribute it together with either a small glass of wine or some fruit juice to everyone present as part of our celebration on this day. Proclaiming peace, announcing news of happiness. During this last week, if you're at all engaged with schools, you will have known that this has been a week when schools have been thinking about books. And I was due to do an assembly on Friday morning, and we'd got to the middle of the week, and I hadn't planned this assembly for our school, and I was zooming up the M6 at a mileage or a rate of miles that I can now safely disclose, because Inspector Lee is not present in the congregation. But it must have left the police cameras at a blur. And thinking, well actually I thought, if you know this book, and I'm sure most of you do, Thinking of the Wind in the Willows, and Mr. Toad, who, when he found the motor car, went at a high speed. So I was saying to myself, as I zoomed at the third lane past Fort. Boop, boop. As we went past and got to Anside, only to discover that the walk with our children that I was supposed to be doing didn't start at 9:30 at all. That was a deceitful. It started at 10 o'clock, but they said 9:30, so they could get there in time.
Born in Oldham, Canon Hallam has made many friends in the area. His last service as vicar was on June the 28th. May Day has come round again, and Towneley Park was again the venue with the usual fun of the fair. Another minister of St James's Church left his church this year, only he left from the top and down the outside of the tower. Curate Steve Cooper from St James's Church in Oldham spent some time learning the art of abseiling in a quarry under instruction in an effort to raise money for the church tower. About £35,000 is needed to underpin the tower to stop it sinking and pulling away from the end of the church. So after service on Sunday, May the 17th, what better way to spend the rest of the morning? The congregation gathered in the glorious sunshine. All eyes are on the tower.
I hereby inaugurate the Oldham Church Tower Appeal. Please support it generously, and thanks to Sean for helping sort all this out for us.
Got to do, Christopher. Got to say your name, aren't we?
So the Leaning Tower of Oldham fund is well on its way.
Are you all waiting for something?
We asked Mr. Cooper what experience he had had walking from heaven to earth.
Quarry up by Haslington. I've been down a couple of times there just to learn how to do it, but it's the only times I've done it before.
What did it feel like putting down heaven and earth?
It's fairly straightforward. You just lean back and walk down the wall. There's no bother at all. It's as easy as that. A thoroughly gentle way to come down from the top of the tower.
Have you any idea how much you're hoping to raise from the event?
Well, we're hoping to raise £35,000. That's, as we show on our appeal board there. It's to underpin the tower and to rewire the church, both of which urgently need doing. And it's just to give it a bit of publicity to get the appeal started, because it's a good visual thing to do and gets people interested. Otherwise you wouldn't be here.
True.
Okay.
There we go.
On May the 20th, Councillor Eric Selby and his wife Vera took office as the new Mayor and Mayoress of Burnley. The new Mayor is a long-serving Labour councillor, but it was a day for pomp, not politics, as he and Mrs Selby succeeded retiring Mayor and Mayoress councillors Mrs Edith Tate and Mrs Cynthia Sanderson.
I, Eric Selby, have been elected to the office of Mayor of Burnley, hereby declare that I take that office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties of it according to the best of my judgment and ability.
The opportunity to
It was a tearful Edith Tate that gave her retiring speech.
Very special thanks to Cynthia, who so ably and charmingly carried out her duty. I'm sorry. I'm terribly soft. I've got one of my own this year, thank you. Last year I had to borrow a hanky from the Chief Executive Officer, that's what that's about. Very special thanks to Cynthia, who so ably and charmingly carried out her duties as Mayoress. When I asked her to be my Mayoress, her reaction was, "But I don't know anything about politics." What a wonderful situation to be in a position where you have to be non-political. A lot of councillors are that.
Burnley born and bred, Councillor Selby has spent his whole life in the town, except for his years in the RAF. He was first elected to the council in 1976 and now represents the Brunshaw ward. Then it was time for the press. Over 20 members of the Mayor's family were in attendance, including some very proud grandchildren. After the formalities, a cold buffet was served in the mechanics. Burnley Camcorder Group wasted no time in taking advantage of their invitation to sample the refreshments. "11 days after their inauguration, the new Mayor and Mayoress took divine service at St Peter's Church, Burnley. The church was packed with dignitaries and was conducted by Reverend Quinton Wilson.
our town, give us an eye for beauty in buildings, landscape and people, and a desire to delight in fine things. We pray for the Borough Council and its officers. Lord, in thy mercy.
Then, to a rousing version of the Monty Python theme, the service was ended with light refreshments. Clivinger Carnival was not a day for the faint-hearted, although the gloomy weather didn't deter the Carnival Queen as she sets off on her exciting day. Umbrellas were the order of the day, as the floats make their way to the Clivinger playing fields. After lunch, it was time for the press. You could be forgiven for thinking that our cameras had taken a holiday to the Costa Brava. Lovely sunny weather and Spanish music. But no, this is Burnley. At the end of May, the town celebrated a Spanish festival. Shops were all decked out with Spanish bunting. The town certainly had a distinct Spanish flavour. Back to normal for the annual horse show at Towneley Park. It poured down all morning, but it didn't deter horses or riders from enjoying their outing. The weather was a bit kinder for the classic car show held again this year at Towneley. This event is a must for the enthusiast, with vehicles of yesteryear in pristine condition.
£1 for a duck. We'll have a duck. Looks more like a Messerschmitt with that down.
Another classic car event this year was the Guardian Direct Car Rally. The cars start from various locations around the country. We catch up with them at one of the checkpoints at Gawthorpe Hall. Because of work being done on the Barden Sports Field, the Burnley Boys Club had to hold their annual sports day inside. It didn't stop the day being a great success. The cotton industry was originally attracted to Burnley because of the damp weather. It was perhaps apt that the second Cotton King Carnival was drenched by rain. The weather did its best to see off the crowds, but the host of entertainers were having none of it. The town was awash with colour and some odd-looking characters. The rain had no chance of spoiling the day. This year's King and Queen Cotton were Radio Lancashire's presenters Heather Dixon and Ward Crowsdale. The Burnley Agricultural Show was not blessed with sunshine, but at least it didn't rain.
To the cattle section.
Show Secretary David Hayhurst was thankful for the weather not being as bad as expected. It cost £14,000 to put on a show, he said. A downpour would have axed the show next year. (1998) was the 50th anniversary of the National Health Service, and on July the 2nd, Burnley Healthcare celebrated at 3 hospitals in the area: Burnley General, Pendle Community Hospital and Rosendale General.
Happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday dear NHS, happy birthday to you.
Hospital radio and all those that put in their marvellous time and effort on behalf of the hospital. So hopefully we've invited everybody and everyone's been covered. Those that haven't, we've had the odd call, we've given them a ticket and welcomed them along with a smile on.
I should imagine it's got an awful lot of interesting
I just said video on Mark.
Strawberries!
go.
Let's go with number 1, Hospital Radio.
And he won the heart of a lady. Chorus. Hardy-do, hardy-do, darling. Hardy-do, hardy-do. He whistled and he sang till the greenwoods rang, and he won the heart of a lady. That's your bit. She left her father's castle gates. She left her own true lover. She left her servants and estates to follow the gypsy roll over.
You haven't got to sing it. Is this the hospital? The gentleman is with the video camera is from the hospital, so all I'll say, if you stood next to anybody you shouldn't be, now's the time to move. A lot of divorce settlements could be settled this afternoon, but... Oh, she's moving! Oh, yeah! We're going to do now, is this a presentation, David? We've got somebody who actually won a £500 holiday voucher in one of the doors today, and the firm who presented that voucher would like to make the presentation now. They're on the way up the steps. Yes, certainly.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Just very quickly, we just wanted to announce the £500 winner of the Altham's Travel voucher. Before I do that, I think it would be remiss not to say a big thank you to the Horton Weavers for coming out. I think it would also be unfair not to say thank you to the main sponsors of today's event, which are Marsden Building Society, Black Horse Finance and Altham's Travel Services. The winner of the £500 holiday voucher presented by the Operations Director of Altham's Travel is Rebecca Ralston, who's a nursing assistant from the Learning Disability Service in Kinross Street. Thanks very much.
I remember them towns of mine when I ride the Blackpool line, and the songs we sang together on the Blackpool band.
Thank you, everybody, and happy 50th birthday!
Very well.
An exhibition of wood turning was on display at Towneley during the summer. Brian Beck is a semi-retired company director who first started wood turning at the age of 10 on a treacle lathe made by Hospice, the fretwork specialist.
About 3 months. I started at a show at Helmsworth, and I haven't done anything for at least 6 weeks, because I couldn't think of what to do next. I got that bit finished and that bit finished, all but finished, and I couldn't think of what to do next. So it was been sort of sitting there on the back of the bench, sort of. In the back of my mind and on the back of the bench, trying to think of the next step.
A number of turners were displaying their skills, which were of a very high quality. Two of our eagle-eyed reporters were in the right place at the right time to catch a couple of unfortunate incidents at the Ghana motorway roundabouts. Fortunately, no one was injured in either. They don't build them like this anymore, is what a demolition contractor said about the flattening of St James's spire. Our cameras were there to capture this very sad event. Whatever your thoughts, the spire overlooking the Peace Gardens, which were also for the chop, were one of Burnley's most famous landmarks, and not everybody agreed with the project. The spire has gone. July the 25th, and we had a very colourful event at Towneley Park. The Kite Festival, organised by Tony White, was a great day with enthusiasts coming from all over the country. From the biggest to the smallest, here being flown by Anna and Joe Town. Oh heck. We asked Mr. White about the festival.
Well, it's the first one that we've actually run from Burnley.
Yeah.
We used to go to flying at Lytham Kite Club, and then we decided that Towneley would be a good venue to hold one of our own. So we tried to get it going last year, but there wasn't really got the contact at that time. So this year we managed to do it, and we went round to a few places and got people to come from Lytham Kite Club.
On arrival at Manchester Airport from a holiday in the Caribbean, David and Audrey Hall received quite a shock. Their shop, Bourne Fashion Store, had been flooded. It seems that the heavy rains we had in March had overloaded the drains, and the back pressure came up through the toilet. The premises had to be gutted. The work to put things right took 6 months, and on August the 26th the shop was reopened by the Mayoress, accompanied by the Mayor. Mr. Hall said, having been closed for so long, we are now faced with re-establishing the second oldest business in the town.
Hello. Long-standing friends. Well, we'd like you to as well this morning. Can we have some photographs first? We've got the... Yes, you have the tape for us. Thank you. Anywhere? Anywhere? There you are, you're all. You're all. Do you want to say a little bit outside, or would you like to say it inside?
I think I'd sooner say it inside. The name of Bourne's is long established and respected in this town, and it's good news indeed that the proprietors have triumphed over adversity and that the business will be with us for many years to come. If we want people to use our town centre, we must provide a good range of trading opportunities. And Bourne's is an example of one of the quality businesses we need to keep. Personally, I am extremely grateful that the problems didn't occur a few months earlier. Bourne's have provided the outfits for many of the events I will be attending with the Mayor. For example, the Mayor Making Ceremony, the Mayor's Divine Service, the Royal Garden Party and the Civic Dinner Dance. All very enjoyable and esteemed events for which Bourne's have provided just the right thing, and I have had a great deal of pleasure in choosing my outfits here. I know that a great deal of time and work has gone into overcoming the setback caused by the flooding and repairing the damage done. You've done a wonderful job and the shop looks magnificent, and it does. Congratulations on all your hard work. It's been worthwhile. And now, with the greatest of pleasure, I declare these premises open for business, and the Mayor and I offer our very best wishes for Bourne's continued success.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very, very much for coming to do this.
I hope you're going to let me shop a little.
Yes, we are.
Going back to March, when you first heard of the news,
yes.
Is it possible to describe your actual feelings in
well,
the airport?
Yes, it was quite... well, the thing is, you see, we arrived back at the airport and David's brother had left this message that there'd been some sort of tragedy, but it wasn't life and death. So I thought, what can a tragedy be that's not life and death? So when we got home, it was a night flight back. I went to bed and David said, don't worry, I'll go down to the shop to see what's happened. So when he got back, he came straight up and woke me up and said, there's been a flood. And I said, straight away, I said, oh, well, a flood's not a tragedy. I'll get my head back under the covers and go down later. He said, you better come and have a look. Well, when I came through the door, it was really horrendous. The smell, first of all, hit you. It was dreadful because they tried to salvage the carpet and they tried to dry it out, so there was awful mess everywhere. Well, we've been out of operation since March. In between all this, of course, we had to do this sale that the insurance company said we had to do, you know, to sort of get rid of the stock. When it happened, when we came back from holiday, there was £86,000 of stock standing in this shop, and I was quite upset because we've always traded, the name of Bourne has always traded on wonderful service. Everything we sell, we have to feel it's absolutely spot on, which I do. I take hours checking everything. And the sheer idea to try and sell all these clothes that have been standing in this awful sewer smell really upset me. So of course I did have a bit of an argument with the insurance people to say that it needed to be tested. And they did this, of course. They sent it off to the institute in Manchester, connected to the university, to check the cloth. And they came back and said, yes, there was nothing really physically wrong with it. It would be best to not sell it as 100% pristine condition, which is what I wanted to do. So we decided eventually that we would use the Friendly Hotel. Friendly Hotel were wonderful. They accommodated us excellently. And it was surprising how people all came for this wonderful bargain, and they did get a bargain.
And finally, we return to the Town Hall, to the 28th of October, where His Honour Judge Raymond Bennett was appointed as Honorary Recorder of the Borough of Burnley. With His Worship, the Mayor, Councillor Eric Selby, presiding, Councillor Stuart Caddy moved the motion.
I have great pleasure in moving the motion to appoint and install His Honour Judge Raymond Bennett as Honorary Recorder of the Borough of Burnley. You may ask why we should appoint an Honorary Recorder and exactly what he will do when appointed.
Well, as they say, that was the year that was. The Burnley camcorder group's eagle-eyed cameramen will be out and about filming for 1999's newsreel. And who knows, maybe you'll make news. See you all next year.